JLB, if you think war's fake, why don't you just go there yourself and prove it, and then you'll see that it's not fake? Huh? If you really believe this, why don't you just go?
You'd be amazed how many times I've heard nonsense just like that. Seriously, I've heard it so many times. In the comments on my YouTube channel, in the comments on the Conspiracy No Poll subreddit, and the other subreddits that I use, and on different podcasts where people like to talk about me. You'd be amazed how many times I've heard this.
Why doesn't he just go there? Just go if you think Ukraine war isn't real, just go there. Yeah?
I've even heard people say, I'm serious about this, I've heard people say stuff like,
if he really thinks it's fake, he should go there and prove it, and he'll become world famous. He'll become world famous. Just go there.
This is the kind of shit that I've heard. And one of the replies that I've been giving to people when I've been hearing this nonsense is, if you actually think that going to one of these fake war zones and documenting it would make me famous, then how come almost nobody's ever heard of Les Luthor? How come almost nobody has ever heard of this guy? Even within the so-called truth scene, even among awake people, almost nobody has heard of Les Luthor. Why is that? Now you might be thinking, hold on, who's Les Luthor? He's just the guy who went to Ukraine and documented that there was no war happening, and he's also the guy who decided to go to Israel, to the Gaza Strip, to document the fake war. Now I'll tell you more about him in just a moment, but I hope we've got this established. If the thought has ever crossed your head that all it would take is for me to go to one of these fake war zones and document the fakery, to get this news out there and suddenly I would become famous, or people would realize, if that thought has ever gone through your head, let me say to you as politely as I can, that is a moronic thing to think, and I hope in time you look back and realize how moronic you've been. Now, with all of that being said, what I'd like to share with you is some research that I've been doing about a little ghost town in Cyprus. Now, why would I care about some ghost town in Cyprus? Well, for one thing, until today I didn't even know this place existed. I did not know this place existed. Some of you guys did. Some of you guys are very good with your geography and your other knowledge about different things in the world. Me, I did not know that there was this big ghost beach town in Cyprus. I did not know that. And so what I've been doing is looking at some different videos of this ghost town that has only just been, in the last year or two, reopened. And so now you can walk through the ghost town. Now, why is there a ghost town? Well, 50 years ago, supposedly, you're going to love this. Supposedly, 50 years ago, there was a war in Cyprus, and it led to the division of the island into basically two different countries, the Turks in the north and the Greeks in the south. That part, I'm sure you've at least heard of that before. But what maybe some of you haven't heard of, and I hadn't heard of, was this little area, this little beach town, a little ghost town that no one is allowed to live in. And for a long time, you couldn't even walk around there. But for some reason, now you can walk around there. You can even do little ghost town tours, which people like to do, apparently. A little ghost town tour. Look at this. Very interesting to me. Look at this. They're all posing in front of a Toyota building that has been abandoned for 50 years. This is bizarre stuff to me. I don't have time to get into it, but there's something about this. You know what? I'm not going to say it, but there's something about this. I'm looking forward. I have to go to bed soon. It's pretty late. I'm looking forward to tomorrow, doing some more research on this. This is fascinating to me. Now, where did I hear about this? Well, I don't want to give too much away, but what I'll say is this. If you wanted to fly into Israel tomorrow or next week, you might think to yourself, how can I fly in there? Well, there are apparently, supposedly, 4 flights a day from Cyprus into Israel. Supposedly, that's what I've heard. Don't know if it's true. So you might think, oh, I'll go to Cyprus first and then fly from Cyprus to Israel because they're very close to each other. That's what you might think. But what if it didn't work that way? What if you bought your ticket through Israel Air and then you went to the air. So you flew to Cyprus just to pull off this little plan of yours to get into Israel because you wanted to see for yourself what's going on there. So you flew to Cyprus. So far, so good. And then it was time to, you spend a couple of days there enjoying it, maybe go into this little ghost town. Then it's your time for your flight from Cyprus into Israel. So you go with your information and all your luggage, and you're ready, and your passport, of course, and you're ready to board to get on this plane to go and see for yourself, is this war just as fake as it seems to many of us? So you get to the boarding gate, and then someone says to you, "Hey, what are you doing here? Like, the airport's pretty empty. What are you?" And you say to them, "Oh, actually, I'm here to fly to Israel. I'm looking forward to it." And then the person says, "Okay, well, come with me to the check-in gate, or to the check-in little section, right?" So you go to check in, and the person starts saying, "So, what do you want to go to Israel for?" And you're like, "I just want to go and check it out." And they're like, "You know what's going on there, don't you?" And you're like, "Yeah, but I'm not planning to go to that part. I'm just going to see the nice parts of Israel, just for a couple of days, just a little tourist trip." And then they start asking you all kinds of personal questions about your employment, your sexual partners, why do you own 2 mobile phones, all this kind of stuff. And then you notice that no one else is actually checking in here. No one seems to be able to check in. What kind of thoughts start to go through your head? What would you start to think to yourself? Because there's somebody who says that that's exactly what happened to them. And it just happens to be Les Luthor, the guy who no one's heard about, even though he's doing, now with Israel and with Ukraine previously, he's doing what everyone says that I should do, that would somehow prove something or make me famous. The work that Les has done is evidence of the fakery, and he's posted it, he's shared it, but most people have never heard of it, and he's not famous. So you see, he's doing what other people say that I should do. What he's doing is brilliant, but it's not making him famous. So going back to what I said earlier, this idea that if somebody went to Ukraine to document it, the fakery, they become famous, that's absurd. The idea that someone like me should try to go to Israel, maybe you can't even get into Israel right now. Maybe you can't. I know one guy who says he tried, and his testimony, his story is intriguing to say the least. So if you want to hear more about that, here's what I recommend you do. I recommend you go, actually, I've got my screen here. Look at this. This is what I'm talking about. Just one day ago, I had some clown on my comment section saying, "What, JLB, why don't you go? If you think it's all fake, what?" Morons, guys, I'm telling you. So anyway, if you want to hear more about all of this, I'm going to put a link to Les Luthor's Patreon in the info box below for like $10, not even $10. I think it's like less than that. Whatever your currency is, it's really not very much. Why don't you sign up and get all of his posts where he talks about this stuff? If you really care. Now, you can come back to me and say, "Oh, well, I shouldn't have to pay a few dollars to..." Okay, fine, don't pay. I don't care, honestly, I really don't care. But to those of you who claim to care about all this stuff, and you think that war is real, fine. Why don't you go and check out Les Luthor's work? Because as far as I know, he's the only one who's doing this. And he's got like 40 supporters, and I'm one of them, so I've seen all of his work. About 40. He's been doing this more than a year now, and he's got about 40 supporters. So this idea that documenting fakery will make you famous, it's a truly redacted opinion. That's all I have to say about that. And like I said, if you want to see his documentation of what he's done, follow that link. Just join up to his Patreon for 1 month, download everything he's got. Chances are you'll be amazed by what it is and you'll stay as a patron, but you might not have much cash. Maybe you can only afford 1 month. Just sign up for 1 month and go and check out what he's putting out there. It is phenomenal stuff. That's all I have to say about that. Thank you very much. Check the links in the info box below and have yourselves a lovely day.
With regard to nobody died, nobody got hurt in these wars.
How dare you!